Talk Line Network, where we talk sports 24/7, 365. It's time to relax or maybe get excited, whatever it is you do to get ready for NFL Draft Talk, because we're here right now with Sports Talk Line Senior NFL Draft Correspondent, Connor Livesay. Good evening, sir.
How you doing tonight, Van? Nice to be on with you.
All right, man. It's a pleasure, and thank you for asking. I'm doing pretty well. This is the NFL Combine Offense Edition, and we got quite a few guys to talk about. So let's jump right in, and let's find out who helped their stock here. Which players jump out at you as guys that impressed you?
Yeah, of course. We're going to talk about some in-depth guys a little bit later, but I just wanted to start off first and talk about some guys who I really think helped their stock. Mecole Hardman is the wideout from Georgia, a guy who runs the ball, catches the ball. He had a really good 40 time at 4.33. An Ohio State guy, Terry McLaurin, another wideout from Ohio State, ran a 4.35. Really good time for him. Then you had guys like Emmanuel Hall, Missouri wideout, 4.39, 40-yard dash. And then you get to those big guys. Garrett Bradbury had a really good day from the workouts, from the drills, from the athletic testing. Everything he did was good. Teams are going to love his attitude. And then a guy like Miles Sanders, who was stuck behind Saquon Barkley at Penn State the last few years, wasn't able to really get his time to shine, did in his junior year here at Penn State, decided to declare for the draft, had a really nice combine, ran well, did the drills well, really helped his stock this week at the combine.
Yeah, he's a smooth guy to watch. You know, all of the guys you just talked about definitely impressed me as well. But take a look here at Miles Sanders, at the way this guy puts together what he's doing in the drills.
Yeah, he catches the football extremely well in the backfield, something that, Barkley did so well at Penn State. So many teams are liking that. And he just moves so fluid, so in space, he moves like a wide receiver when he's a running back. When he's catching the football, he's got soft, natural hands. But when he runs the football as well, he runs with some power in between the tackles, able to get his burst outside the tackles, get down the field, make people miss. Another running back who I think had a really good day was Justice Hill, the Oklahoma State running back. Another guy who catches the ball extremely well, ran really well, jumped really well. A guy who really, I think, helped him stock, maybe went from a later mid-round guy to an early mid-round guy, maybe even a guy who would go in the late second, maybe early third round. So we're talking about some guys who definitely helped their stock. Now I think we were going to talk about some guys that might have not have done that.
Yeah, there's always going to be the balance to the karma wheel, right?
Yeah.
So what are some guys that jump out?
Yeah, I was really disappointed in Greg Little, the Ole Miss offensive tackle. He didn't run well. He had a 5.33 40-yard dash, and he was a guy that I thought one of his better traits was going to be his athletic ability, a guy who plays tackle. He's got size, but he seemed to move well on tape, but nothing he did at the combine translate there. So that's going to take me going back to the tape and taking a look at and seeing if that's the case. Another offensive lineman, David Edwards, did not run well. He's a tackle from Wisconsin. He was being lumped in that the same categories like Colton Miller, the guy that the Raiders drafted in the first round last year, who didn't really pan out for them in his first year, but a guy who doesn't, have the technique. He doesn't have the footwork or the hands, but we thought he was going to test well athletically. We thought he was going to come out here, run and jump well. He didn't do that. Another guy, Lil Jordan Humphrey from Texas, a guy we've talked about a bit on the show. He had a terrible 40 time at 4.75. And he doesn't really win with his speed at Texas. His tape doesn't correlate that as well, but he's a guy that you expected to maybe go out and at least run, mid 4.6s, but to come out as a 4.75 really hurt him as far as his draft stock went, I would think.
Oh, yeah. There are certain numbers that they want you to fit in with the templates: height, weight, speed, strength. And if you fall outside of those numbers, man, it flashes. Even at QB, they like them a certain height. Though, of course, that's changed a bit this year. We'll talk about that in depth on another show, I feel certain. Is there anybody else that you felt stepped off the edge of a cliff, or are those the main guys?
There's just a few more I wanted to mention real quick. Elijah Holyfield, the Georgia running back. Man, he was carrying weights on his back. I mean, the dude looks sluggish. Yeah, 4.78 is just not good at all.
No.
That's, of course, a lot of people know that's Elijah that he's Evander Holyfield's son. And on tape, man, he runs so strong. He runs with some burst, but he came out, didn't test well. The Florida Atlantic running back, Devin Singletary, a guy who I expected to go out and test extremely well, only ran a 4.66. He measured in at 5'7", a little bit above 5'7", 203 pounds, I want to say is what he measured in at. So again, he doesn't have the size, and then he didn't show that burst explosiveness in his runs or jumps either. So that's something that again, you go back to the tape. He played at Florida Atlantic. He wasn't playing against some of the top talent in the country as far as college football goes. So I have to go back to the tape and make sure I'm not missing something with him.
Yeah, the good news here, though, is with Holyfield, it's not that big of a deal because at his pro day, he's going to get his father to stand behind the guy with the stopwatch. Trust me, it's going to be a lot better time, okay?
Yeah. And also, I think that's a good point to bring up is a lot of these guys are going to test a lot better at their pro days because they're being put in better situations. Some of these teams have facilities where it's a downhill run slope, so it gets them a little bit better 40 time, and they're just more comfortable there as well. There's not cameras all over them. The
Right.
networks aren't there. They're just more comfortable at their pro days. So they always seem to test a little bit better at their pro days than they do at the combine. So by no means does this write these guys off, but I think it's something that it makes you go back to the tape, look again, and make sure you didn't miss something your first go around. You want to watch maybe a few more years to see if maybe they lost some of that burst that you might have saw in their junior years or beginning of the year, something to take a look at. But like I said, those were some guys that I expected to test a lot better than they did, and they really not necessarily hurt their stock yet, but it's trending downwards for those guys.
Well, yeah, it actually reveals a second thing about the players, and that certain players do better. Most players do better at home, but some players really are affected when they travel away. And a lot of that is the visual cues. So the ones that have, a much better pro day, and then when they're away, they don't perform as well. They have problems with that. They lose that familiarity that allows them to excel. So that's something teams look at and say, all right, wow, he's going to be a lot better at home than he is on the road.
Yeah, that's something definitely to take a look at as well. But like I said, these pro days are going to start coming here soon, and I feel like you'll see a lot of these guys' numbers improve over the next month or two when they're doing their pro days. But these are ones a lot of teams like to go by since they are all our official numbers.
Well, let's take a look at some guys that, we want to take a closer look. And we're actually going to do this in pairs because it's groups of guys that, are lumped together, guys that needed to do well. And they did pretty much what they were expected to do, but they definitely helped their stock. And I'm talking about at tight end. Let's start out there with TJ Hockenson and Noah Fant, both from Iowa, which is mind-blowing in itself, how they both ended up with these guys. I don't know. Is that legal?
Yeah, it shouldn't be, having those two talents on the same team. Noah Fant came into the day, of course, being the more athletic of the two tight ends coming out of Iowa this year. And he showed that. He ran a 4.5 40-yard dash, which is quicker than a lot of the receivers, running backs, DBs even. So he comes out and runs a 40 time that doesn't belong in the tight end group. He should be playing a different position is what that
Right.
40 time insinuates. But he runs a great 40. He jumped well. He had a 39.5-inch vertical jump, 127-inch broad jump, a 3.81 three-cone drill, which is just tremendous for a tight end. A guy who can dip, he can bend, he's very flexible. That's one thing he does extremely well is he's able to break in and out of his routes with ease. He gets in and out of his routes with ease. He doesn't get caught up. We use that phrase a lot when you're doing these in and out breaking routes where it kind of takes you a second to get back going. He doesn't lose that explosiveness, and that was the case for Noah Fant. He came out. The tape shows it. His combine backed it up. He might work out at his pro day, but I don't think there's a whole lot of need for him to. He really did blow up the combine as far as a tight end goes. And then TJ Hockenson had a good day as well. It's getting a little bit overshadowed by Noah Fant's day. But again, we go back to it. We go back to the whole evaluation. You're probably going to end up grading TJ Hockenson out higher than Noah Fant because of what he can do in the blocking game, what he can do as a route runner. But when you look at an athletics, freak, that's Noah Fant.
Right.
6'4", 249 pounds. He's got the long arms. He's got the length. He's got the athletic ability. And
And,
he's got the tape
it's
too.
not just long speed. You know, that's important to realize here. It's not just long speed. He's not limited to that. This guy can make quick cuts at that height, at that weight, 249 pounds. That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, and you just take a look at it. The 3-cone drill, which is a drill made to see how these guys change directions, how explosive they are, cutting in, cutting out. And TJ Hockenson had a 702 3-cone drill, which is really good, really, really good, actually. And then Noah Fant had a 681, which is just absurd that a guy at 6'4", 250 pounds could change directions with so much fluidity, so much ease, and just really just do it like he's been doing it his whole life. And I think Noah Fant and TJ Hockenson are both first-round graded tight ends for me, both in my top 15. So those guys are going to be what I consider, blue chip style of players that are going to come in, contribute right away. And it's just like you said, it shouldn't be legal for Iowa to have two guys that can come in and be instant NFL, starters.
All right. Yeah. They're both exciting guys, and the way that they go after it and what they do on the field. But there's two more guys that also had to do well in the NFL Combine. They both play wide receiver, and they both did well.
Yeah, Hakeem Butler, Iowa State wide receiver, and then Naqil, the Arizona State wide receiver. Those are two big body, physical receivers who needed to come in and test well, and not necessarily blow up the combine that we talked about, but they needed to come in and do better than what a lot of people expected them to do. And
Right.
both of them did that. And I think that's huge for that, because so many people are going, yeah, they're big, they're strong, they're fast, but how quick, how explosive are they? Naqil came out, ran a 4.53, which is really good for his size. He tested in a little bit shorter than what a lot of people had him at. He was 6'2", 228 pounds, so a little bit on the shorter side. But as far as his physical frame, the 228 pounds is still there. He's a big guy. He put up 27 reps on the bench press, ran a 4.53 40-yard dash, had a 122-inch broad jump, a 38.5-inch vertical jump. And he did well in the drills. And I think that's a big thing as well, that when these big guys come and they test well, they also need to go through those drills and do a good job with those drills. But I think Hakeem Butler really, really, really helped his stock, because he weighed in at the size, the height, the weight we thought he would. 6'5",
incredible looking, man.
Yeah, 6'5", 227 pounds, 35.25-inch arms, huge hands at 10.75-inch hands. Ran a 4.48 40-yard dash at 6'5", 227 pounds. That's really, really good for him. 128-inch broad jump, 36-inch vertical jump. So he showed off his lower body explosion as well. But you just got to love what you see with his tape as well. He's just a big physical guy that can win at the catch point. He can, be a force in the open field, breaking tackles, picking up yards after the catch. His hands are a little bit inconsistent, but you can see some things as a route runner that really, without DK Metcalf, a guy who just came out and really put on an alien performance for the most part, he would be the wide receiver 1 for most folks. He's the wide receiver 2 for me in this class, especially after putting up that day in Indianapolis.
Yeah, and you talk about how similar these guys are, even though they're a little bit different in height. One being 6'5", one being 6'2". It worked out, a little bit shorter than expected. But the one guy at 6'5", he can go vertical 36 inches. So that's incredible how he can high point the ball. But the other guy can go vertical 38.5. So he makes up for the difference in height right there. I mean, they both can pretty much meet the ball up at an incredible distance in the air. But you'll notice neither one of them did any of the shuttle drills,
Yep.
and stuff like that, because they don't want those numbers up there, right?
No, they still want to go back, get some training in, go to their pro day, get into a comfortable environment where they can move, change directions on a field that they're familiar with. They don't want to be slipping. They don't want to be, falling in and out of their breaks. So they're going to go to the pro day. We talked about it, go to the pro day and put up those numbers and hopefully improve on what it would have been at the combine.
All right, now you go from those two guys, which are your prototypical big wide receiver, which a lot of teams are looking for. I mean, that used to be what you had to be in the NFC East wide receiver race. back in the day. But now there's two more wide receivers that, man, they put up some blazing times, and they weren't afraid to go and do some shuttle drills and things like that. These guys both have incredible speed, and I'm talking about Paris Campbell out of Ohio State and Andy Isabella out of Massachusetts. Man, what did these guys do? They blew it up, didn't they?
Yeah, I think Andy Isabella, I knew he was going to be fast. He was fast at the Senior Bowl. The stories coming out about him are that he's extremely, extremely fast. But he had a 4.31 official time in the 40-yard dash. His first time was a little bit messed up. The laser went beforehand, so we didn't get an official first time for him. But it was noted that it could have been in the 4.26, 4.27 range. And then he ran a 4.38 his second of 40-yard. So they gave him an official 4.31, which is just insane for a 5'9", 188-pound receiver from UMass. But I was a little bit, not a lot. I don't want to say I was disappointed, but I expected his three cone to be a little bit better because he's so quick in and out of his breaks that I expected him to change directions a little bit quicker than what his three cone time insinuates. But still, you got to love the 20-yard shuttle times. You got to love the 40 times. And even for a smaller guy, you got to love the jumps as well. He definitely had a great day and really, helped his stock. We went back to what we talked about firsthand, a guy who was slipping a little bit because of his week at the Senior Bowl, but I think he just got back up into that second round range.
Oh, man, you're talking about guys like this, and he just tested out all over the map as well as he tested out. It just gets you excited because it's that barrier that the NFL is breaking now. They're looking at the smaller guy, the slot guy, man. The Cole Beasleys now are making their name, and they're going to get paid. It's not just, well, okay, you have to be on the Patriots or you don't get used. Now teams all over are using these guys, and it's fun to watch. It really is. But there's another wide receiver that really opened some eyes, blew it away. And I'm talking about DK Metcalf. And he really helped himself, but he also defined himself in one area. Why don't you talk about DK Metcalf out of Mississippi and what he did that just opened so many eyes?
Yeah, he runs a 4.33 after coming in at 6'3", 228 pounds. It shouldn't happen. Those things shouldn't happen. You shouldn't be that big and move like that. And it's absurd. He jumped 40 and a half inches, had a 134-inch broad jump, 27 bench press rest. He's just a freak athlete when we're talking about moving up the field, getting down the field. But then you look at his three cone, his shuttles. Those are the things that people needed to see him do good at, and he didn't. He was one of the worst testing guys in the three cone with a 7.38, one of the worst testing guys in a 20-yard shuttle at 4.5 seconds. So it's tough there because on tape he didn't run a lot of routes. He didn't have a crazy route tree because Ole Miss didn't do that. You go back to the A.J. Browns, you go back to the DK Metcalfs, the Dawson Knox, the DeMarcus Lodges. They had a ton of talent on Ole Miss, but they just couldn't get anything going offensively because of their scheme, because of the way they were coached. I hate to say it, I hate to place blame.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't have diverse route trees, and it hurt them offensively. And I think you could see it kind of hurting these guys. They expected a lot of 9 routes, a lot of vertical routes. They lived and died on the big play. But you got to love Metcalf coming in at his size, his weight, with his body fat.
Oh, he was chiseled, man. I mean, he had that Terrell Owens effect of he is just so cut up and everything. And he looked smooth in his drills. But, you could tell there's a reason that guys of a certain size don't do those drills. I take my hat off to him for going ahead and doing them. I mean, it showed that he's fearless. He's saying, you know what? I can do these to a degree, and I don't care. And, wow, hats off. I think he helped himself overall more than he hurt himself. What do you think?
Oh, definitely. And it's so – the combine nowadays for me goes so little into my evaluations. You have to really either bomb it or really either blow it up. But one guy we didn't really touch on, we were going to bring him up, was Paris Campbell, and he's a guy that definitely went up a little bit. In my rankings due to his combine. He ran a 4.31. He was tied with Andy Isabella for the fastest official 40-yard dash. He had a 40-inch vertical jump, a 135-inch broad jump, a 403 20-yard shuttle, weighed in at 6 foot, 205 pounds. The thing with him is his tape isn't that good. I didn't really like his tape. His hands are inconsistent. He's not a good route runner right now. But with that athletic ability, you have to think you can get something out of him. And with guys like John Ross going in the top, 10 picks a few years ago, it wouldn't shock me one bit if Paris Campbell ends up going in the first round and could even be, one of the first few wide receivers taken because of what he did at the combine.
It's the Tom Landry effect. He said that the hardest thing to defend was speed back in the day. That was the thing that he was most afraid of, and it led him to go out and recruit Bob Hayes. And it changed, the league and how wide receivers are viewed. And a guy like this, it used to be, all right, immediately he would go to the Oakland Raiders, right? But now anywhere, every team covets these guys, don't they?
Yeah, the athletes that we saw last week in Indianapolis is probably the best group of athletes that I've seen since watching the combine that I can remember. No one broke the record, but you had a lot of big, strong athletes running in the low 4.3s, running
Just
in the high 4.2s. It really is to see some of these guys run as fast as they are. I think some people, they want to break the record every year. That's not what it should be. It should be going in and seeing how these athletes test. And I thought that this was one of the best years as far as the runs, the jumps, the shuttles went. I think that this was a huge year for the athletes entering the NFL draft, not just the football players.
Well, yeah, basically we saw a guy tested who at 249 pounds can run the same routes that Cole Beasley can run.
Yeah, his numbers suggest that. Obviously, being a tight end, he didn't do it a lot, but his numbers suggest that he can break in and out quicker than a lot of wide receivers in the NFL at 6'4", 250 pounds. And like you said, there was a lot of hope that he would go in the first round. I think a lot of people had him going kind of in the middle to back end of the first round. But after that weekend in Indianapolis, I just find it hard to believe that there's a chance he could fall out of the first round with those numbers, with his size, and with his tape at Iowa.
If he does, he's going to somehow end up on the Patriots. I don't know. It's just not fair, but it's going to happen. Okay, you heard it here first.
Good landing spot for him if he's still there at 32.
Oh, man, that's exciting all the way around. Okay, well, hey, let's before we go signing off here, why don't you tell everybody about how they can find you on Twitter and, the social media stuff, and about how we're going to be coming back and doing a defensive edition.
Yeah, we're going to go through these defensive guys. We wanted to make sure we labeled it offense because I know these defensive guys tested like freaks as well, and we don't want to leave them shy of any praise. So we'll be back talking about them. But yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Connor NFL Draft. That's where I do a lot of my draft work. So if you want to hear, talk, ask questions, follow me there and just shoot me a mention on Twitter. And I normally try to get back to everybody, but follow me there. We're, bringing these player interviews that are going to, start back up here after the combine, talks to some more of these prospects, get their story, get their backstory, talk about their personal life, talk about their football life. Those are a ton of fun. So check those out. Check out our mock drafts, big boards. We're going to start breaking down these position rankings as well here now with the combine over with me finalizing all my grades. So if you're looking to see where these guys are ranked on my board, you'll be finding that out here soon. And we could talk about it more from there. Big shout out to my guy, Miles Boykin, too, who was one of the first interviews I did this year. Told me on the podcast that he was going to run fast, jump high at, 6'3", 228 pounds. The tape didn't really show it, but he was not lying. 4'4", 240. He's blazing for a guy his size. So congrats to him. Love when people don't lie to me. So I like that.
All right, man. Exciting. And yeah, shout out indeed. And to everyone, hey, thanks so much for being here. We'll find you next time when we do the defense. Until then, listen like you play with intensity.